guys.
Hello.
So today we're going to have a little bit more of a serious video with Chip.
Walking across our shop.
He'll join us because he's family.
Usually we talk about Disney and upcoming things that are going on in Disney and things that are upcoming in our Disney world. Today we're actually going to talk about something a little bit more serious and a little bit more closer to home for us. Mm-hmm. Usually we don't share a lot of personal things that happen in our lives, but we felt like we wanted to actually share this with the rest of you guys.
I know a lot of people may be going through this or know someone's going through this, so I definitely wanted to share and do some... When I was doing research on this, there's not a lot out there, so I definitely wanted to share our story and hope somebody can relate and take something away from the video. But today we're going to talk about our infertility journey. So this started actually back in April of 2017, so it's been about 2 years now. We had been talking about having kids for a while, right?
Long time. 2 years, 3 years, something like that.
Before we even got married.
Yeah. That's more than 3 years.
We always knew we wanted to get to have kids and be married and be together. And April 2017 is when we were like, we have the finances to do it. Let's start trying. We were just buying a house. It's actually when we started this channel.
If you guys haven't seen our first video, look at the time difference between then and now.
Yeah, and that's
night and day.
That's when our infertility journey started. We started trying. I came off birth control as we were just looking for a house. We figured even if I'm pregnant moving into a house, it's not a big deal. And that's what we had in mind for buying a house. An extra bedroom for kids. We wanted a 3-bedroom. We knew we were going to raise our kids in whatever house we bought.
I think we actually posted a video a long time ago, like when we first bought the house. So I think Amy did a walkthrough of the entire house. If you haven't seen that video, go check out that video then.
And I think we even called one of the bedrooms a future nursery.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how naive we were at the time.
Yeah.
I was thinking, few months, we were going to be pregnant. It never happened.
Life kind of shot that down real quick.
And we tried every month. We timed ovulation. We did the normal things that you do trying to get pregnant until October of 2017. I had missed, my cycle was always regular. I missed it and I kept missing it. It was 2 weeks. It never came. I decided I had to go to the doctor. So I made an appointment with my regular OB. She said, we'll do all my home pregnancy tests were coming out negative. She said, we'll do a blood test. If it comes out negative, you have to come into the office. Of course it was negative, so I went into the office and she decided, well, we'll do another blood test. And I never had a problem with this doctor. I was actually recommended by somebody pretty close to me, this doctor. She was very harsh. She basically said, oh, well, you came off birth control and you gained all this weight. It's all your fault. Never thinking that maybe coming off the birth control changed my hormones and that's why I gained all the weight, that there was an underlying medical issue. It was just like, it's all your fault, which made me feel terrible. She did more blood tests and that was in November. We did all the blood tests. I didn't hear from her for weeks, which I thought was weird. Life kind of got away from us. I didn't call her back and I was like, oh, in January, I have my regular appointment. I'll go then. We figured out that I had a prolactinoma, which raised my levels of prolactin. Prolactinoma is a very small tumor on your pituitary gland. I ended up going to a neurologist, and my neurologist and my OB referred me to the fertility clinic. So that was a year. April of 2018, we started going to the fertility clinic.
Yeah.
It was April 5th. We're literally at...
Oh, yeah, right. Around this, yeah.
Yeah, it was
a full year of doing it, yeah.
That first visit, you were with me.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first visit he went with us. But it was a very informative visit. I never
there was a lot more, and I do appreciate the nurse. So everyone is designated a nurse that she is like your go-to if you have questions. In other
At
words,
this office.
At this specific office. So you don't really so much ask the doctor the questions. You ask the nurse does all your research, asks the doctor, does all the legwork for you, so it's more of a personal thing.
She's your contact. That first visit was so informative. We met with the doctor. That was the first person we met. And she sat down and was like, I reviewed your charts. You definitely have prolactinoma, but I think there's an underlying issue. I see that you came off birth control and you gained all this weight. And you have heavy periods and you have the hormonal imbalance. I think you have PCOS. She basically told me, she goes, this is how we're going to diagnose it and this is what we're going to do. That same day, within 15 minutes of talking to her, we went for an ultrasound. I got blood work done. Josh got blood work done.
I don't do needles.
We also pulled blood for genetic testing. We did everything in that first hour visit. It was crazy informative.
It was a lot thrown, at least for me. I know I'm going to sound like a typical guy. It was a lot thrown at me very much too quickly for me, so I couldn't process it.
And I'm good with information. It was a lot thrown at me. I was able to process it.
She dumbed it down for me.
Yeah. But we found out I had PCOS, and she said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get your hormones under control. We're going to get you on some medication, and we're going to follow your cycle. So we followed my cycle. We took a few months off through the summer. We just kind of wanted to digest everything that was happening, make sure my hormones were in level. And in September of 2018, we started IUI. IUI was the next step. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's intrauterine insemination.
There's going to be a test on this. I promise you there's going to be a test.
They basically take a sample of his semen, wash it to remove any dead ones so they only have the healthy ones, and then they directly insert it through my cervix into my uterus. So it's the next step up from naturally getting pregnant.
There's a lot more to it, but she kind of, that's the gist
like
of what happened. Literally.
We did that with, I was taking medicine to help me ovulate even though I didn't need it, and we were triggering ovulation with an injection to time everything perfectly because it's all timing. We did that 4 times. Every month was a negative. Every month it got harder and harder to hear it.
And it really, okay, so they recommend, at least to us, I don't know how it is to other families, they only really recommended about 3 to 4 times, 3 to 4 months, 3 to 4 cycles of doing this IUI. Some families do it more than that.
And you can do it more. It's just your chances are...
Yeah, and not only that, the nurse kind of described to us the best way that it will and it does for both, for Amy and I, it took a very big emotional toll when you're trying for 4 different months and you still get these negative results.
And you feel like you're doing everything right.
Yeah.
I'm taking my pills, and I was taking like up to 12 pills a day on top of vitamins. Josh is eating healthier, I'm eating healthier, and nothing is helping. It got to the point that we had determined the infertility was not, there was no male factor from Josh, it was only my body not accepting, and it just wasn't working.
Also, another thing that the nurse kind of also told us is the IUI process, I think it was, a 10% to 15% chance that she could get pregnant. So it's, I think naturally is what?
Naturally is a 5 to 10% chance with healthy individuals, no infertility issues.
We're not healthy.
With IUI, we got our chances up to 30% with what we were doing. The next step was an injectable course. So we had been doing pills, which were just not the actual hormones, they were like simulated hormones.
In essence, in other words, those pills would trigger something in the brain to think that she was ovulating, even though she really wasn't. These injections were actually making the physical part of her body actually ovulate.
And the cost that it would be with the insurance that we had at the time, the cost wouldn't relate to the increase in chance of being pregnant. So our doctor even said, I don't recommend it. Let's jump to IVF.
Yeah, we would have had to pay for those shots out of pocket. And for the amount of money that we would have paid for those injections, she even said that in other families, she recommended to other patients to not do those injections and put those money towards doing IVF.
So IVF is where they actually take an egg out of your body and they fertilize the egg within a petri dish, or a lot of people call it a test tube baby, and they watch the embryo grow for a few days. And then you can either freeze it or you can put that embryo right back inside the mother's body and wait for pregnancy to happen. It's not always successful. There is still that chance, but it is a much greater chance. So what happened with us, our insurance didn't cover IVF. It's very expensive. It's about $30,000 out of pocket from our fertility clinic that we were using. And I was eligible for a research program. So my fertility clinic, not many do this. I was very lucky to have a research program where they cover the entire cost of IVF except for anesthesia or medication, which would have been about $3,000 out of pocket after we qualified for everything. The only thing that was preventing us from qualifying was my BMI, and one of the symptoms with PCOS is it's very, very, very hard to lose weight, very easy to gain weight. I can look at him eating something and gain weight, but it's very hard to lose weight. In the last 2 years, you've seen how much healthier I've eaten. I've only lost about 15 pounds, and that's with the help of the medication I'm on. And it's totally out of my hands. I did not feel like it was feasible for me to lose the weight. I know it could have been, I could have gotten there, but mentally I was not in a state where I could have lost the weight and been healthy mentally. And Josh felt the same way. He supported me in that decision, and this was just in January, February.
So again, same thing we were just talking about, the IUI part, where after 4 months of trying, it does take an emotional toll. As your process prolongs and the more you have to do, it drains even more. Like Amy was just saying, even though it's dietary, it still is mentally draining for you.
Every living minute of the day, I'm thinking about having a baby. I'm thinking my body should be able to do this thing and it can't do it, and I feel it's out of my hands, but I feel like a failure. And I can only imagine how you feel just seeing me go through that at the same time.
I was fine.
He was very supportive. He was really great through the whole time.
She doesn't, by the way, she doesn't mean me, she means Chip.
I really do mean Chip.
Just enough. I was not very supportive. As you can tell, he's very supporting and very loving.
So kind of the next step was we were paying for our insurance out of pocket, healthcare.gov, and my job at the time, thankfully, had insurance that covered IVF. We are grateful enough to live in a state, we live in New Jersey, as many of you know, that has a state mandate that they are required to cover IVF. It is the state minimum. You get 4 egg retrievals in a lifetime, unlimited transfers. They don't cover freezing of embryos, but the freezing is a minimal cost.
Give or take.
It's a minimal cost compared to the whole procedure.
Okay, yes, I will say that it is.
When I was in the process of switching, I checked with the insurance and I said, hey, I want to check that my doctor's covered or there's a doctor in the area. And at the time they were like, oh, we are seeing your doctor. I'm going to say Dr. A. They're covered, no problem. I have it in an email basically written. Got the insurance card, called my doctor and was like, want to add my new insurance. I'm so excited. They were not covered. They had an old list of doctors and my doctor was not covered. I called my insurance back and said at the time, my insurance only covered in-network doctors. It had to be in-network. Otherwise, I couldn't use the benefit. They basically told me there's two doctors on our current list that are in your area. And if these 2 doctors are claiming they don't take your insurance, you can't use the benefit. I just remember before even moving forward at that point, just crying. I was in my car at work. I couldn't believe that we had gotten this close and yet another obstacle.
Yeah, you ever realize that when you really want something in life, something is always thrown in front of you that you have to overcome? This entire journey, I could definitely speak for me.
Yeah.
It felt like throughout the entire process of these last like year and a half, it's always been like that.
2 years.
No, I mean since the process of us actually going through the doctor.
So, the first doctor they mentioned to me, I remembered the name. Dr. A had bought them out. They don't exist anymore. So I literally had one doctor to rely on for IVF. And I called them. I remember Googling them first, like, do they even exist? And their website wasn't working on my phone. Their Facebook was outdated. I was like, oh my God, they don't exist. This, like, I can't make this phone call. Somehow I gained the strength to press the call button and they answered. And I just remember hearing the woman on the end of the phone and start crying. And I said, I'm so sorry. And I'm crying now remembering how I felt. I had to explain to her why I felt that way. And at this point, we had planned to do IVF in March. We totally planned on starting IVF in March with my other doctor. And it was March 5th, and I was making this call to switch doctor's offices now. So in my head, I'm like, we're never going to get to IVF. It feels so far away. I called and I said, I want to make the intro appointment. And she said, okay, we're booking consultations out in May. And I went, excuse me? And I just remember being like, please tell me something sooner. I explained my situation. And she had a cancellation for the next day. It was the middle of the work day. She was like, could you make it? I was like, I will make it.
Don't you worry, we'll make it.
I literally left work, drove an hour to the fertility clinic, met with the doctor, and then drove back to work. The packet they gave me when I checked in was all about like, doing all this testing and like you have to there's a certain like ultrasound that they make sure your tubes aren't blocked, which I had already had done. All this genetic testing, which we've done. We've done
all this with the other doctors.
Like the sperm analysis, which we had already done. Like I was just before I even met with the doctor, I was like, oh God, we have to do this whole thing again. Months of testing. And I basically sat down with the doctor and said, I've had this done. I can get you my medical records. Not a problem. I don't want to do it again. And he was like, not a problem. He goes, it looks like you were set up to do IVF. He had most of my medical records there. And I said, yeah, we were ready to go. And he goes, okay, we'll do it. We're going to start IVF at your next cycle. And I sat in his office and cried because I was just like, okay, another obstacle down. He goes, but we start with birth control.
Yeah. I've never heard of this too. When I heard this story, I didn't understand it.
I had heard of it. So the way Josh and I work is I do all the research. I'm information hoarder. I do all the research. And I filter information to him. I knew a lot of people do IVF with birth control, but since our first doctor didn't want to do it, there's no sense in me telling him that. I'm going to get him worked up for nothing. So I knew that. So when I heard it, I knew it was a possibility. And I had read it on their website. I was just kind of crossing my fingers. He starts with birth control. He said the only testing we had to do was for insurance approval purposes, which I was okay with because
that's understandable.
They're going to cover $30,000.
Yeah, I can understand that as well.
So that's kind of where we are today. Insurance is approved. We did all of our testing, everything like that. I'm currently on birth control. And next Thursday, I go for my next appointment with the doctor. At that appointment, it's going to be several things. They're going to test the actual catheter for the transfer. They're going to do a test. They want to measure my cervix, measure my uterus, so they know that when they transfer that embryo in, it's going to be good. And we're going to talk about what day I'm starting the injections. So the process of IVF, and I can only say this from hearing from my doctor. I haven't done the process. And of course, we will fill you guys in more now that we're sharing this with you. I do injections. It's about 2 to 3 injections every night for about the first 10 to 12 days. After the 10 to 12 days, every few days I go into the office and they measure the eggs. Those injections are called, a lot of people short it to stims, and they stimulate your ovaries to grow a lot of eggs. Then there's a procedure where I go in, I'm under anesthesia. They retrieve the eggs. It's called the egg retrieval. And then that day, Josh will bring a sample of his semen, and they will fertilize the eggs that day. That will start our 5-day waiting period. They will call us every day and tell us the status. How many eggs did they retrieve? How many have matured? How many are fertilized? And how many are surviving until day 5? On day 5, we're going to take one embryo and we're going to transfer it back into me, and the rest we're going to freeze.
So something about that, after talking with Amy and the doctor, some families actually insert more than one embryo. We decided as a family that we only want to try the first round one embryo. If it doesn't stick, then the following months we'll do 2 embryos at a time. Mm-hmm. Amy's family tree runs with twins, so her generation is already going to get twins. So if she gets pregnant on the first time, she has a high probability of getting twins. If we put 2 embryos in there and she has 4 kids, no.
So that's a very good chance with IVF. IVF already very, very slightly minimally increases your chances for multiples. And you can have twins multiple ways. You can have identical twins where one embryo splits into 2, or you can have fraternal twins where you actually have 2 eggs that fertilize, which would be the 2 embryos. So even if we transfer one embryo, we could have twins. It's a possibility. And if we transfer 2, there's a chance that we could only have one baby where only one egg takes. We could have twins, 2 fraternals. We could have up to 4. We could have triplets. Like, there's so many variables. But because we've never done IVF and the chances are the chance of us getting pregnant is increased, we want to start with 1. We don't want to jump into that 2. Yes, it's been 2 years, but I know people that have waited much longer. So we are very grateful that, number 1, we get the chance to have a covered IVF cycle. All we're paying out of pocket is we're paying our copays.
The injections and the freezing.
The injections, though, we're paying a lot less than other people. Some people pay about $10,000 for the medicine. We're paying about $300.
Yeah.
Our insurance is very good. And the freezing at our office, every office is different, is $1,200 for the first year.
So something else is, just to tag along, we were saying how before the IUI is around 30% of a chance of us getting pregnant. This is what, 60-65 starting percentage?
Yes, and our doctor has a 70% success rate with fresh embryo transfer, which is what we're doing. We're doing a fresh embryo, and then if that doesn't work, we're doing a frozen embryo. The other thing that we're not doing...
Sorry, this little paw just kicked me.
The other thing we're not doing, because we didn't feel the cost outweighed the benefits, is genetic testing.
Yes.
You can genetically test your embryos where they take a piece of DNA and they can tell you the health of the embryo. They can even actually tell you the gender before they put it in. And we wanted to do it. Don't get us wrong. We really wanted to.
Until...
we found out it was $6,000.
Nope.
And insurance did not cover it.
Not even close.
So I talked with my doctor, and this was before I even called Josh after the consultation. I'm young in considering the fertility issues, and Josh there's no male factor. It's only me, and it's not my eggs, it's my uterus. So it has nothing to do, once we have an embryo, that shouldn't be an issue. The embryo shouldn't be an issue. So we're not genetically testing. We did decide as a couple that we're going to do, I get 4 egg retrievals for life. They can do the stimulation of medicine 4 times. We're going to do 1 round with, God forbid, we go through all the embryos that we fertilize, and on average there's around 8. We do 8 transfers and none of them stick. We're going to do another egg retrieval, and we will pay for genetic testing because something must have gone wrong with 8 embryos on average. We don't know how many embryos we're going to have yet because we haven't
gone through that process, that part of the process yet, but...
yeah. So that's kind of where we are. We're just about to jump into stimulations. I wanted to explain why they do birth control first, because I looked at the doctor, I was like, don't you think that's kind of backwards from where we want to go?
Even the pharmacist she went to, she goes, wait, fertility doctor is giving you birth control?
Yeah.
That didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me.
With me that she read the prescription right. Basically, it calms down your hormones just to get ready for the stimulation injections to produce more eggs. We are, as a couple, we're at risk for hyper ovarian stimulation, which means I can produce a lot of eggs, which will be very painful for me. We are at a very increased risk of miscarriage, and we're at a very increased risk of multiples. I'm okay with multiples. I'm okay with the ovarian stimulation because I'd want more eggs.
No, I want one kid at a time, please.
Miscarriage is something that we are very, very grateful to have not experienced yet.
Hopefully we don't have to.
Hopefully we don't have to. I had a moment where I thought we did. It was actually the last month of IUI. My HCG, which is the blood test for pregnancy, was elevated, but the next day it dropped. So it was a chemical pregnancy. It never existed. My body thought it was pregnant, but there was nothing there. And just the thought of that is crushing. I can't imagine having to go through it. We wanted to share that with you because it's a big part of our life right now. Our life kind of revolves around IVF.
And another thing, first, we appreciate you guys watching this video. We really, really do. And I can definitely speak for Amy and I. We really do hope that this video does help a lot of you guys that are out there that may be going through the same issue as we were going through. Or if families of their own who had to go through IVF to get pregnant. Trust me, as you can tell, we know where you guys are coming from. For those who are not having to deal with this and are usually watching us about Disney and stuff like that, thank you for at least watching this because there are a lot of families. You can see how emotional Amy was getting. I thankfully didn't cry, but you know, we appreciate you guys liking our videos because it is Disney related, but we also wanted to share with you guys not just our Disney love and affection, but we also wanted to share how our lives are impacted in general, not just what we love to do, you know?
And I believe the ratio is 1 in 8 women have infertility issues in some sense of the word, infertility. Some are impacted much higher than others, but it affects women's daily lives. You know, just walking around seeing kids, opening Facebook and seeing another one of my friends that I went to high school with is pregnant. Somebody else is having a baby, or, you know, just walking around Disney. That's the hardest. And Josh and I, it's a joke now. We joke that my ovaries hurt.
Every time she sees a little baby, we watch a Disney video or something like that, and we see a little kid, like girl or something, like Minnie, and Amy's just like, and I'm like, how those ovaries feeling?
Yeah. So we try to turn it into a joke. We try to lighten the mood.
Yeah, that's one thing. I don't mean to interrupt Amy, but that's one thing. There are times, and like Amy just did, especially after the 4th, IUI, that, was a negative process, you have to smile. You have to laugh. You have to take the punches. Yes, we want a child really badly, but you can't always be down about it. There's always some type of positive that you need to see about it. Trust me, because again, if you don't smile, if you don't laugh, if you don't go on a Disney vacation, and you allow not being able to get pregnant to absorb your life, you're going to be depressed. Even the nurse from the first doctor's office that we went to said the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. After the 4th round, they said, do something that will make you both happy.
And that's my suggestion to anybody going through this is there's what a lot of people call the 2-week wait. So after you inseminate or transfer the embryo back, you have to wait 2 weeks to find out if you're pregnant or not. In those 2 weeks, live your life to the fullest and prepare. If you get a negative pregnancy test, what are you going to do? And pick something that you can't do if you were pregnant. Find the positive in that negative. I was thankful that one of those times I got to go to Disney and I got to drink at Disney. I got to go on all these rides, and that made that negative a lot easier.
Which, again, I know she's saying this now, but that, if you guys saw, what was it, our last video? 2 videos ago, the one that we announced we were going to Disneyland. That's why we did Disneyland, because thank God we're fortunate enough that we can afford to go on vacation, and we understand that, you know, going to Disney is expensive. But thankfully, we have DVC that allows us to go on those vacations. And again, I'm not trying to sell DVC, and I know we've made videos on DVC, and if you haven't seen that, please check that out. But the reason, one very small reason, not the only reason we're going to Disneyland, is just in case we go through a couple of rounds of these, you know, IVF, we can't get pregnant. It will, even, and in my view, will take an even more emotional toll than I feel than what we went through with IUI.
Yeah. Because
you're going up from 60, and specifically with this doctor, 70% chance that you're going to get pregnant, and you're not getting pregnant after 2-3 times of IVF, and IVF again is 70%. I truly believe that it could affect, you know, your relationship between, you know, a husband and wife if you're trying to get pregnant.
And it's made our relationship stronger, but at the same time, it's also made it a lot harder. We fight more.
We fight more, but you know what though? It's not. We get over it pretty quickly, but it's not like you're fighting, like you're going to break up fighting.
And it's also, we know what it stems from. We know why we're both overly tired and frustrated, and a lot of it is something that the entire time we were dating, and even through the wedding, I was on birth control, which controlled the hormones, which controlled my PCOS. PCOS is a lot of different things, but it can fluctuate your anxiety, your depression, your mood swings. And Josh, I don't notice my mood swings. I notice my anxiety, I notice the depression, but Josh is firsthand. He was like, as soon as you came off birth control, you were like a monster. And I had no...
And that's not, by the way, that's not like a stereotypical guy, like, oh, it must be that time of the month. It really, I can definitely see a change in Amy's personality. Not just who she was, not like her, just her personality, but who she was. It was really affecting her.
And it was never like, oh, we're getting close to my period, so I start acting out. It was like, all the time I would have these crazy mood swings, and I wouldn't notice it until he pointed it out. I would literally feel those emotions in that moment. Yeah. And I gotta give him all of the credit, because I was a monster, and I still am. The longer I'm off birth control, I'm not on that hormone supplement, and I notice a change in the 2 weeks I've been on this birth control, that I'm like, oh my God, I'm a normal human. And like, I know that most likely next week or the week after, I'm coming off this birth control, and I know I'm gonna be nuts. And I know the stimulation medicine is also hormone based, so it's gonna increase it more. He has been my rock. I know he hates this.
She's trying to boost me up like I'm the best man ever. And I am, but still, she doesn't have to tell the world this.
For dealing with that craziness of an emotion, like if you think of living with a crazy woman, that's who he was living with, and I couldn't even control it. Like, it's not a lesson I could have learned.
Thank you. You're so cute.
It wasn't like, hey, you're doing this wrong, fix it. It was, okay, you're acting out, go up to your bedroom and calm down.
Go to your room.
And it's made our relationship stronger. We know how to work together a lot better.
It's more like Amy realized how not to kill me. I think that's
honestly,
not so much as me killing her. It's more like Amy not killing me.
It's a very kind of backtracking. It's a very common issue. You know, someone that you know in your life is going to experience infertility. Us alone, we know multiple people that have gone through IVF, and I'm grateful to be able to reach out to them and be like, hey, I want to pick your brain. So that's, I mean, nice, but it kind of sucks. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really grateful we get to share this with you. And
we will update you. We will.
Yes.
Because inevitably, when we do an announcement, you guys will be our 10th people to know.
We have a lot of people.
We have a lot of family first.
We have a lot of people who are waiting. I think you guys would
understand that, yeah.
We have a lot of people who are waiting for a baby. So, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for updates and more positive Disney videos.
Can't go wrong with Disney videos.
Right? Like the video and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys.
And I know Amy says subscribe, but you have to remember to click that bell. We see, I think we have over 170 subscribers, which, guys, thank you very much. Make sure to share our videos too, because again, you guys helping us get more popular will make more and more videos, because if you guys like what you guys see, we'll make more videos.
And tell us what you guys want to see. That's always really helpful. We'd
Yeah,
love to
definitely
give you guys...
leave comments below. Not just about this video, but tell us what you guys want to see, what you want us to cover, what you're interested in, and we will cover those topics.
We'd love to give you guys what you want.
We also want to say congratulations to our winners from our last video. We were giving away a pin from Toy Story from opening day. Bob and Kelly from Colorado won the pin, so congratulations to them.
Congratulations, guys.
We do have one more pin to give away, but we're not going to do it now. We're going to do it in a couple of more videos. We don't know when, but we promise we have one more pin to give away. But congratulations to those guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, please make sure to subscribe, share our videos, tell your friends to subscribe, and we'll make more videos for you guys.
And
see you real soon.